morning to you, everybody. This is Michelle Stout right here with Keep Rowlett Beautiful. And yeah, I have a Brock, you realize that I had a whole script to say and it just went like that. It's
That's how it always happens. It's always
it's
I always tell people I just have like things in my head. They come out, I have no idea.
it's
Good
a
morning.
Figure It Out Friday author's edition, and I believe everyone needs to start every day with an encouraging word. And today it's for authors. And Brock, we have the most exciting guest on our show today. Um, and it all had to do with a referral that I got with one of the ladies who's on the show, Dawn McCurdy. And Dawn, if you're on, I thank you very much. I see we have a lot of people. Danny, Hunter, Pat's here, Monica, Tanya, Dennis. We have a lot of note takers. Rachel, Latrice. Good to see you, Latrice. Uh, David, I met about a month or so ago. And so we have and Tanya. So welcome, everybody. So, without further ado, I want to introduce you to our guest, Pat. Um, we had about an hour conversation, and he is the most interesting person, and he's a real estate uh, person, Pat. And I just wanted to introduce you, and you have taken a most interesting journey that many people might dream about, but never actually do. So, um, let me introduce you. Welcome, Pat.
Good morning, Michelle. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Can't wait to hear about what you got coming on and going in your life.
That turn you mentioned, some people may call it insanity. So
Well, you started out in the real estate world, and then something happened, and you decided to do something that most people will not do. And what was that? Could you explain that to me?
yeah, so I'll go back a little bit. Many years ago, I was flipping a home, and I thought I would sell it myself. I was not a realtor at this time, and I finished the home, came out beautiful, and decided I was going to be my own realtor. I was going to do the for sale by owner, and I was doing open houses Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 5. I didn't know any better. Eventually got connected with Dawn McCurdy, who came in and sold the house in 2 days after I was floundering around for a month. Uh, so I got to know her, and I told her I always wanted to get into real estate. She said, "Well, let's get this sold, closed, and you can get your real estate license." So I started in 2004, and I was really fortunate. My business really took off, and it kept growing every year and growing every year. And sometimes, I'm asking for the world. I wanted every bit of business I could get, and I got it. And sometimes, I think this is at a point in my life. It was 2012. I was working with builders. I was working with resales, probably four or five different builders. And, builders love working with builders, but they're not easiest to, they can be pretty demanding. And in 2012, I think I had 62 or 65 transactions. And I think I hit the wall. And it was between 2012 and 2013 that just as much as business was good, it just seemed like my life was going in the wrong direction. I business wise, I was doing really good. Income wise, I was doing really good, but uh, family members are dying. I had a nephew that was wounded in Afghanistan very badly, and just it seemed like all these things were happening. And I knew I had to make a change, but I didn't know what that change would be until I remembered something I found back in 2008 or 2009, which is a walk in Spain called the Camino de Santiago. And I went on that walk. I made the decision to go on the walk, and for anybody that doesn't know about it, it's the particular walk I did started in a little town in southwest France called Saint Jean Pied de Port, and I put a backpack on my back, about a 20-pound backpack, and walked pretty much through the entire country. It's about a 500-mile walk, and
Wow.
I had no idea. To me, it was going to be a walk, and I go to church every Sunday. I'm a religious guy, and There's churches everywhere. I'm like, great, I'm going to be able to, I'm going to be able to visit a lot of churches and go to masses and whatnot. But I had somebody call me just before going on that trip, and he said, "Now you're going to journal this, right?" And I had no intention of journaling it. But I said yes, and I went in the store in the airport and I bought this little pocket-sized notepad and a pen. And I realized after day 3, after the most incredible things were happening to me every day, that I really did need to start making notes. So I started journaling, and I realized that every day there was different wonderful things happening. I later read a book called God Winks. I think it was called God Winks, When God Winks at You, or something like that. And I was getting God winks every single day. Um, and the trip, literally, there's a point in the trip, and I know we don't have a lot of time here, so I can't get into everything, but there's a point in that walk when I was carrying a stone, and this is part of the idea of walking the Camino, is you bring a stone from your home country or your town, and you put all your negative thoughts and anything you've been struggling with over the years into this, and you get to this place called the Cruz de Ferro, and you leave it there, and there's a prayer you say. And when I did that, and I was walking away from that mountain of stones, all of a sudden I just everything changed. I just all the negative, all everything I had in my life, I literally left at that pile of stones, and it was a big life change for me. I just felt like I was a new person after that, and it wasn't just a 1 day thing. It continued on and on every day until I finally got back. And when I got back, I tried to tell my story, but I couldn't. I couldn't because I would talk to people. They'd say, "Hey, how was your trip?" And about 30 seconds into it, their eyes are rolling and they didn't want to hear anymore. So people really didn't want to hear like how the trip was. They just wanted a quick answer. Was it good? Was it, bad, whatever. So I had to write about it. So I was going to write a book, and I was going to have it not published, but just printed, hand out to family members and relatives and friends at Christmas. And I shared some chapters with some people. They say, "You got to publish this." And I published it, and I was shockingly became an Amazon bestseller. To this day, it's still selling all over the world. It's called 2 Million Steps. And it was about that journey, and it was about the changes made to me during that journey. Um, so that was really a huge, huge change, and just that change and writing that book opened me up to so many other things. And since then, I've written 3 more books, and I have 2 more in production.
Yeah, I mean, this is just really an amazing story. And uh, this particular journey changed your life and how you really impact the people around you. But what's interesting is you haven't stopped there. You've gone back on this particular walk several times, and you're getting ready to do it again. So what do you hope to get out of it as you go the next time? Is it another book or what?
Yes. Okay, so the first one I did is 2004, and I walked 500 miles, and I've been back 8 more times since. But each of those walks have been between 150 and 250 miles. So my hope is this time I'm going to go and I'm going to kind of relive the original walks. I'm going to attempt at it with my 12-year-old older body to walk 500 miles again. And yes, I am in the middle of writing a book about a particular part of Spain. It's called the Meseta. And I will probably spend about I'll probably spend about 10 to 12 days in the Meseta doing research. And I'll be publishing that book later on this year. But really, I just want to relive my entire first Camino and see how it compares.
Okay. That's
Pat, I gotta
Be my
ask you a
10th walk.
question. Good
this is
morning.
Brock, by the way, Pat.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Brock.
Pat. This is the cool part is like I meet amazing people and literally like you all, I meet people just like right now. And Pat, I was listening to your story and I think there was an important, a huge important part of your story that I want to make sure that if anybody like I want everybody to really lean into what I'm about to say because I think I love everything about it, but there was something that you said that like struck me like lightning, and I want to make sure everybody's listening to this. if it wasn't because there's, how do I want to say this? We go through life so fast. We have our own drive, our own like we have our own plan in our head. And there's a Bible verse, and somebody will say it to me, and I'll kind of give like the Cliff Notes version of it. But like, man tries to plan, and then God like really sets it for us. And we have like this intentions to go in and to do whatever it is that we think we're going to do. And there was a line that you said that I want to make sure that everybody listens in what happened to Pat. Pat had intentions on what he was doing with this trip. You were going in, you had, I'm going on this, and whatever journey you had in your head. And God puts people in our lives to change the whole thing because the guy, I don't know who it was, you know exactly who that individual was, but somebody said to you, are you going to journal this? And that idea, that concept, you would not be at this $2 million thing. You would not be doing what you're doing and journaling and doing everything if it wasn't for that individual that God placed in your life that you had no idea about to say to you, are you going to journal? And to me, I like to reflect a little bit on that, on where your thoughts were, where your mindset was on that initial point, because you even got the journal, but you still didn't do it right away. You're just like kind of, because what you said to me is like, I wasn't too sure yet. And see, God puts things in our lives all that we're not too sure yet. He gives us these ideas, but we're not too sure yet until we take action because he planted and he gave somebody to Pat, and Pat still wasn't too sure yet. So, Pat, I'd like to just kind of go back to that moment. If you can walk us through, because you're going to help somebody today, you're going to touch somebody today who's got something inside of them that they're not too sure yet. Walk us through the kind of like that mini session, because to me, that got me goosebumps. Because I was like, if that man didn't say that, I wonder what he'd be doing right now.
Would have changed everything had I not journaled. And yeah, I was at the Albany airport. I was just waiting to take off, and my nephew Elliot called me and as parting words, oh, by the way, you're going to journal, right? And yeah, of course I am. And I had no intention. And I'm like, I can't lie to my nephew Elliot. So I went into the store and I bought that. So yeah, so the first day on the walk is basically it's a tough day. You're walking up and over the Pyrenees Mountains from France into Spain. It's kind of like 13 miles up and 4 miles down. Um, and I remember, I mean, it's the most beautiful day ever. And you're walking up over the mountain. There's sheep everywhere. There's horses. There's no fences. It's just absolutely stunning, and the views. And we're going down the mountain, the 4 miles, and I was walking with these four women from Australia. And I remember this one girl. Her name was Maria, and we're going along, and all of a sudden she yelled, "Oh shit!" And she kind of stopped. I said, "What happened?" And she said she had knee surgery 10 years earlier. I don't know if it was replacement, whatever. She had knee surgery. And she goes, whatever happened, I just re-injured it. And she's carrying her 20-pound pack. I got my 20-pound pack on, and she started hobbling. And so I said, can I carry your pack for you? And she wouldn't allow it. And she's doing more hobbling to the point where she couldn't do it. And yeah, we had to start carrying her pack and to know if she made it or not, if she, continued on. She came a long way, all the way from Australia to do that. And that evening, we got together, another woman from Australia and a vast journalist and a stockbroker from London. The four of us, total strangers, huddled up and told stories and created this wonderful bond. The next day, it was just over and over. And I'll try to explain this one thing that happened in this little town called Casanova. I checked into this place and nobody spoke English. There was the staff, and they had like a spa there that's pretty famous. So people came from all over Spain. None of the nobody there spoke any English, and so I made it through no problem. And at dinner, I was sitting by myself, and I had a typical pilgrim meal. It's a three-course meal. It's a starter, main course, and a dessert. But they give you a bottle of red wine with every meal. They just give it to you. So I finished dinner, and I took the wine. They brought it out on the deck, and I'm sitting there, And I'm just sipping on my wine, and this woman comes over. She goes, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" In perfect English. So we started talking, and she is from Cuba, and she starts telling me her story. And her daughter was murdered by her husband, and we probably talked for an hour, and all of a sudden she reaches over and she grabs my hand. She goes, "Can we pray?" And I'll never forget that. It was so moving because she held onto my hand, and it wasn't like, saying the Lord's Prayer. It was right from the heart, probably 2 to 3 minute prayer that went on, praying for her family, praying. And she had previously asked about, my wife's name, my kid's name, and she remembered all that. And she prayed for them, and she prayed for my safe journey from there to Santiago and my safe flight back to the States and everything. And these things were constantly happening along this route that really had a huge impact on my life.
That Pat, that's just really incredible. And it's all about these life-changing things. And what I want people to understand is everyone has a story. And what I want to encourage people is to journal, as Brock has mentioned, to write them down. And you may or may not write a book, but they're important for you. Number one, yourself, and the learning experiences have the healing that you need to have. And there's a scripture that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So your testimony is your story, and people need to know what each and every one of our story is, and it will not only help us but help the people that we're sharing that with. So that is so incredible. Okay, I want to take a little bit of a transition. We have less than 15 minutes now, but you have written 3 more books, and these are not the same type of book that your first book was. And you have an exciting thing that is beginning to possibly happen as well. So can you take maybe 5 minutes and condense these 3 other books into what your next journey is?
Absolutely. Um, I went back on more Caminos after that. So after the first one, that was 2014, and I published that first book, 2 Million Steps, in 2017. I felt after that, I'm like, I know I have another book in me. I just know it. And I had all this stuff built up, from the career. I've done a lot of things in my career. 2 most notable things. I was a cop for 5 years, and 22 years as a real estate broker, and I've had a lot of opportunity to travel around the world. I've been very, very fortunate. So on one of these caminos where I was walking along with nothing to think about, I dreamt up another book in my head. So I took some of the stuff that happened to me as a cop, and I fictionalized them into this first book. I named it High Crimes Against the Crown, and it's about the protagonist, Connor Kaldemeyer, who always dreamed to be a cop. He finally got his job, his dream job, and 5 years into his career, he was assigned to a roadblock because there was 3 escaped prisoners from the prison down the road. And true story, by the way, this all did happen. And he was at the roadblock, and one of the prisoners came along, and he got injured very, very badly. Goes on, loses his job as a cop for about a year, and goes on to finally, when he's rehab and he visits Ireland, he falls in love with a girl, and it took place in 1982. She snuck him through the border of Northern Ireland, and he ends up getting involved with the Irish resistance movement. So he goes from being cop to being accused of crimes that he had committed there that he didn't do, but he's accused of it, and the British government's looking for him. He gets off the island to France, where he goes back on the Camino de Santiago to hide out, and he finds out later that the British government has sent somebody after him. So this book, High Crimes Against the Crown, was written and published, and it went off really good. And then I decided, well, I'm going to make a second one because he's still kind of on the lam, called The Flight Across Europe, and then just recently The Venice Deception. And I can't get into time-wise, I can't get into what they're all about. But I can say that I had the blessing of being invited by my publisher to be on a call one time, and it was with a woman that specialized in bringing books from book to film, from print to film. And she gave us an exercise to do. And as I was doing the exercise within the next morning on the call, we had to do this little elevator speech of something that happened within the book. And when I finished it, I was shocked when she goes, "Oh my God. Oh my God." She goes, "That's it." She goes, "That's what I'm looking for." She contacted me the next day, and fast forward, so I've signed a contract with an executive producer who is in the process of marketing this series to be put into film, or either a full feature film or a series. And I always thought like somebody would write a book and then somebody just makes a movie out of it. And it's so far from the truth. I had to create what they call a one page. I had to create a treatment, create a Bible, professional resume, principal characters. There's so much more involved in that. So process has been going on about a year and a half to get to all this. And but she says that it will get there, and I'm putting my trust in her, and she's working at it every day, and she's had some discussions with some networks. So like I said, that is a huge blessing for me. I never, ever, ever would have dreamt that. And back to my nephew, Elliot, who suggested that I journal my first trip. None of this would have ever happened.
That is so strange. I literally, when you said that, Pat, I just wrote down nephew, and I wrote that down, and I know I'm going back to your first story because you all need to understand. He just said it. Without his nephew, there is somebody who probably has come into your life already. There's somebody who can come into your life today. There's somebody who can come into your life next month, next week, next year. But if we don't have the openness to be able to do, I keep going back to like this man and what he has done now because he took a chance. Like I even felt when you were doing that prayer with that lady, I felt your emotion come through in your voice. I was just like, do people understand what this man is just putting out there? That like you could have had this happen to you already, but he took action on it. Whatever it might be, we say it so many times to take action on things. Several of you this week have decided to take action on things because maybe you got pissed off about something. Maybe you're tired of being tired. Maybe enough is enough. And we still have this fear. But I say to you, if you weren't moved by the way he just shared with himself, his nephew, to me, there's somebody in your life too that is helping you and moving you that God puts in front of you. And I just think, man, your story is amazing and what you're doing and where you're growing because you're not stopping. And I believe that God's got something else bigger for you that you don't even know about yet. So,
Absolutely.
Pat, thank you, man.
Yeah, this is
Thank
an
you.
incredible story. And Dawn, Dawn, you wanted to mention something, so unmute and thank you for the introduction, by the way. I've really enjoyed getting to meet Pat and being able to have this. So, what can you share today?
Well, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
This Pat story never gets old to me. I've been with Pat now since I walked into his for sale by owner open house for 22 years. And not only has he, been, all of what you guys have heard, but his clients and the thousands of homes he sold, everything's a 5-star, 10-star, whatever we're rating ourselves on. Works at the highest level to his community, to all the he's helped build our company, my company. We have 20 agents. He's had a part of almost all of their lives. He's brought agents into me, some of them as clients. And besides what you're hearing now, it's just amazing the life and how a person, and I think about what Brock said because we had the exact same word at the exact same time. I started real estate when I was 17. I was illegally waitressing because I wasn't 18 yet in a bar, finishing school. And someone said to me, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I'd never even been in a house. And they said, why don't you sell real estate? Literally the next day I was in the phone book calling all the realtor, I had no idea what I was doing. Well, let's just say that's 42 years later. So we don't stop, like Pat, to journal. I feel like if any message could come across, that's such a strong one because there's so many points we all have, and I think you've said it. Everybody has a book in them. Everybody has a book. It might just start out as a story, but we just don't stop and think about it because sometimes people will ask me things in my life and I have to go back, and there's these moments that just come right out, and it could have been 2 years ago, could have been 30 years ago, it could have been when you were two, right, that things happen. And if you're somehow capturing that, because it just, some good, some horrible, right? But it all somehow makes a difference. But if you just go on and just go on with your life and nobody knows it, and the point is the sharing he's done. He's been my mentor in life. Never missed anything in either of his sons' lives, and I didn't have children then. And I just think it's amazing what you're doing here and getting these people and maybe sharing with others to recognize the story they have, in them. And I want to thank you for that, and publicly thank Pat DeVaney for probably being the best man and person I've ever met in my life.
You're too kind, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you for the contact. And Pat, I want to thank you for coming on today. I know there are people that have really got something out of what you had to share, and I look forward to seeing the either series or screen show, the movie coming up. I'll be there in the debut in the Dallas area. So keep us posted. Brock, do you want to say a few words and close us out?
Yeah, Pat, this was very moving. Like, I never know, many times when we have speakers, and I love our team and our leadership because they go out and they find amazing speakers, authors, leaders in some capacity. And so, like, it's cool to have the feeling of, our audience here today. This is my first time meeting you and hearing your story, and it's moved me, and it has me reflecting on so many different things. So on behalf of our community, our family, guys, put some hearts in the chat, put a 5 in the chat for what he shared this morning, and just really being emotional about it. That's when you know that there's passion, there's amazing. Like in Dawn, hats off to you, Dawn. 5 for Dawn for sharing and finding people and being like, this person is somebody that we need to have in our community and our family. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Pat, for being here this morning and sharing.
Yeah, and his contact information, Facebook and books are out there in the chat, so you may want to get that before you log off today.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta get his book now. I want to know what happened else on this story here.
Well, thank you so
So
much, Brock and Michelle and Dawn, and everybody out there who heard this little bit. It's always nice to tell a story. And obviously, if we had more time, we could get into more details. But thank you for the introduction today, and hope everybody has a great day.
Okay,
thank
thank
you,
you,
man.
Pat.
All right, Michelle. Great job, Michelle. Great show, Michelle. Great job, Pat. Thank you all for being on here today. We do this every third Friday. We bring in an author. If you have somebody that you feel that we need to share their book, share their passion, share their story, please feel free to reach out to us. You can always text us, DM us, reach out to Michelle or myself. We will definitely actually reach out to Michelle because she's so much better at it than I am when it comes time for this stuff. That's her purpose. That's her dream of what she's doing. So thank you, Michelle. Guys, I want you all to have a wonderful weekend. Chat Free will be back Monday morning at 8:15 Eastern time. If you know somebody that wants to be part of this show or needs to be listening to us, come back. We do all our recordings. Go to my YouTube channel, Brock Zvan's YouTube channel. Go to our private Facebook page. As always, we'll have all Pat stuff on there. Till then, I'll see everybody Monday morning at 8:15. See ya.